something has to change. Something has to change at Man United because they had a real opportunity today to beat Man City at home. I thought they had more threat than Man City, which we'll go into, but this is a problem, a huge problem. And simple question to kick us off. What was more pain? If I asked you, you had to either watch that game of football again or be this guy in the 70th minute who was sadly affected by... And how lucky is this lad, by the way? Who would you rather be? I'd rather be that bloke. I'd rather take an absolute thunderbolt from Ugarte and the nuts than watch that game because it's painful. And speaking of painful, Rasmus Hojlund is painful. He's painful to watch. And why is that? That's what I want to get into here because he's the B-side here. And if you're going to continue to play this way as Man United, he will never, ever get anywhere near it. And part of it's down to him. Part of it's down to his teammates. Something has happened somewhere where he is just not touching the ball. And that's where we get to this position where he's literally having 15 touches, if I could bloody find it, 15 touches in a game. Like 15 touches. In the first half, he had 8 touches. Casemiro, who had a brilliant game, by the way, had 9 defensive actions, 6 tackles, which actually speaks volumes on Man City as well. We've got to break this down because this is a problem. A huge, 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 huge problem. But it's not the total truth. Rasmus Hojlund will be dragged through the mud, and for some elements, that's absolutely right. But there's the disconnect in synergy, in respect. I don't know if it's body language or what, but I'm going to break it down for you. Let's talk about the game super quickly because it was kind of boring because there was this real opportunity for... And actually, I want to talk about that. In terms of what Bruno Fernandes said in his interview afterwards, he's talking about, with VAR, you can't have spicy derbies anymore. I totally disagree. I thought this game was just totally devoid of risk. There were two teams being very, very careful in how they played. And Man United, I would say, were absolutely the better team in terms of the stats. Much, much better. And this is what's so revealing about the Rasmus Hojlund situation is that when we look at the stats, okay, Man City had the ball, but the area of which they had the ball was very, very different. I'll explain exactly why. But let me go here first for you because this is sort of at half time. And what you can see is all of the touches for Man City. And actually, let's go to the end of the game. Man City, you can see how difficult they found it in terms of being able to get into that penalty box. Whereas if we look at Man United, a lot less touches, but so much more going on when it comes to getting in the box. So again, riddle me this when it comes to Rasmus Hojlund. Why is he getting so few touches? Because the stats tell such a story. When we look at a Man United team against a Man City team, which I appreciate, they were there for the kill, and they didn't take it. More shots, higher expected goals, and crucially for me, a big one, more touches, more shots inside the box, double, in fact, and so many more touches in the penalty area. So there was an attacking threat from Man United. They were looking to go kind of round the sides a lot of the time. And because of the way that Man City set up and were quite narrow in their setup, what was always available... I've got Euro on the right. Have I got Euro on the right side? I've got it the wrong way around. What was always available were these switches. These switches of play throughout the game. And it was something that worked really, really well because they were looking to overload them. And that should have led, with 29 touches in the penalty box, to opportunities for Hojlund. But it didn't materialise. Man City were really, really average in this one. The lack of penetration was a huge, huge problem for them. Huge, huge problem. We've spoken about it here. But one thing, and the switches actually came from this. So this is the switch, and you can see, and this happened quite a few times, Delo kind of screaming for it. And the reason for it, if we go back just a second, is that they were looking to create overloads, which is understandable. You've got a lot of players who kind of want the ball to feet, and that was the biggest problem. You had Marmoush, who's probably the only one looking to go in behind, and actually I don't think did it enough. But once you get the ball back, there's so much space on this other side. So what we got here, 22, 24. Move it on. about 30 seconds later, but you've still got so many of these players on this side of the pitch. And so that switch was always on. But it's what happened after that switch that I thought really, really hurt them a lot of the time. And the switch was always on because the press wasn't as high as it needed to be from Man City. And so, as I say, that should have led to a lot of good opportunities for Man United. And overall, it kind of did, but the Rasmus Hojlund situation still rears its ugly head. So here you go, switch. This was another moment where actually Dorgu was offside. And Bruno Fernandes made an amazing switch, but as you can see, he's offside, which absolutely killed him there. And Dorgu was constantly a threat on that side of the pitch because they were trying to like lock off Man City were. But Rasmus Hojlund, as you can see here, kind of just not involved. But let's get to the stats when it comes to Rasmus Hojlund, because I'm going to show you how he played. And I'm going to put forward this question. What do you want him to do? When it comes back to that switch, this is another example of that switch. And actually, there was a good moment that came from this. Let me show you these stats. So, as we said, this is bad, right? This is really, really bad. Really, really bad, okay? But this, let's go here first. This is the passes received network for Rasmus Hojlund. And as I said, these are the passes he's getting. These are the areas of which he's getting the ball. So 29 touches in the box. Rasmus Hojlund is not getting any. He's coming here to feet at times. A couple of runs into the channels on occasion. But really not getting anywhere near the ball. And when we look at his passes received, and actually his pass completion is not too bad. It's not bad. I think it's 77%. Might be able to find it. It's not that bad. But he doesn't get the ball. What do you want him to do is my question. What do you want him to do when he's getting the ball in this area and never, ever getting the ball in this area? What do you want him to do? Here's what I would like him to do. I would like him to show more feel for the game, because I think obviously it's easy to compare strikers, but when you see Zirkzee's movement is so different to Rasmus Hojlund. They are so different as players. But his body language and the timing of his run and his feel of the game and an attacking sequence is what, and that feels far more impressive than Rasmus Hojlund right now. But if we come back to the stats, let's go here. As I said, look, really, really poor when it comes to those numbers, right? But these are his shooting stats. And there's a lot of green here. Let's get a different colour. There's a lot of green here. Shots on target, not great. Shots on target percentage, 91%. In the top 9% in the top 5 leagues. Top 7%. Goal shots on target, green. It's not horrific, is it? Average shot distance, that's not important really. But the important one are these two, right? These two in particular, not that bad. And this, I think, is pretty glaring as well. He doesn't have any shots. And when I'm watching him, tell me, are you seeing this too? Or am I missing something? I just feel like he makes some good runs. He could make better runs. We'll show you that now. But he just doesn't get given the ball. He just never gets given the ball, in my opinion. Let's run through it. And actually, let's go back to one of those switches, first of all. Because here you have it. Here's the starting point. Now, first of all, and like I say, we always talk about it on this channel, two things can be true. This is a moment where actually Rasmus Hojlund has kind of worked a duel up here, and the ball was dropped for Garnacho. He started to make a run, and he's starting to kind of try and find the space. He knows Dorgu is over on this side, and of course Dorgu's going to run into that space over there. But where's Rasmus Hojlund? Rasmus Hojlund is right here. He's just had that duel, and he does a lot of those duels here. Can he win more of them? Absolutely, he can win more of them. Is that an area of the game he needs to be better at? A bit more bullish, a bit more effective? Yes. But at the same time, would I like to see him more in these areas and being passed the ball in those areas? I really, really would. But this Man United team right now wants to be a bit more compact in how it's playing, which is understandable. So that's difficult for Rasmus Hojlund. And this is the picture I'm trying to paint. I'm trying to understand why is he struggling so much when profile-wise, there's so many players at Man United who struggle. But profile-wise, he should be doing much better. And we've got a whole video on that if you want to go check it out. But as it plays on, first of all, this is where I put this at Rasmus Hojlund's door. He shows to feet. He's got his back to goal. That is madness to me. That's not needed. You should be going in this direction. He should be driving in this channel, taking some defenders away to make life a little bit easier for Garnacho. That should be his first thought when he gets it there, not being a little bounce pass there, which maybe he kind of wants to do that so he can pass it to Dorgu if you're being really kind. But it's the wrong first thought. We move it on. And actually, let's go back to here, because what you can see is the ball then makes its way to Dorgu. And those switches that we were talking about were made. This was a great switch. You saw that Delo was there. You see, Gundogan's seen that this is a bit of a problem. That switch comes. And when that switch comes, tell me, what should he be doing, Delo? He should either be taking a touch and having a shot, or he should be playing it first time to Rasmus Hojlund. And if that's Haaland, if it's Isak, if it's any striker, if it's Evan Nilsson, if it's any striker in this league, apart from Hojlund, in my opinion, I think they do it. And as we move it on, the ball comes across, and he takes a touch. He doesn't hit that area. He doesn't hit that area there straight away for him to let him just go and get it. He's in between there. He's perfectly in line. He's in the perfect position. Body position is right. It's all there. Put it across the line. Instead, he takes a touch and gives it to who? And I'm not saying he's not a problem. We did a podcast with JJ Ball recently, and he was talking about how actually everything goes through Bruno just that little bit too much. But how can you disagree? How can you say that's a problem when he's doing so much for the team? But this is maybe one of the instances where that is a problem, certainly for Hojlund, because that ball has got to come across. It doesn't. It goes to Bruno Fernandes instead. Maybe that's a better choice. And that's, if you want to be cynical, I get it. But if we're trying to play football to the best of our abilities, or a team is, that has to go across the 6-yard line. He's in a good area then. Needs to be played to him. Comes to nothing. And this, you can see it. He looks to him. He goes, come on. Give me the ball. There's so many examples of this throughout the game. And this is in the second half. And this is, again, it's a mix. That's what you're going to get on this channel. It's not going to be like, it's definitely A or it's definitely B. He's become the B side because of, I think, his body language and behaviour in the game, or decisions in the game, because they are not looking for him. But part of it's down to him. So this is in a sequence where the ball's got to about here. And Nico Riley has actually just kind of kicked it back to Bruno Fernandes. And so Bruno Fernandes got the ball here. And he actually has... There's about 3-4 seconds by the time Bruno Fernandes got this. So here's the criticism for Rasmus Hojlund. Get in the box. Get in the box. Sometimes he kind of comes to feet where he shouldn't be doing that for me. You've got 2 10s, or you've got Garnacho knocking about as well. And I think that's the problem in itself. These two can't play together, in my opinion. Or I've not seen it work yet. So get in the box. But actually what happens, and it just shows you that they aren't looking for him, in my opinion, is actually Bruno Fernandes kind of makes a couple of yards, and then he actually plays it to Casemiro. And you can see Hojlund. Oh, you can see Hojlund here. Wants it. And I think if it's Haaland, if it's Isak, if it's another player, I don't think you pass it to your DM. I think you play it to your number 9. But they don't... The aura's not there right now. Can that come in time? I think we're running out of time if you're Rasmus Hojlund. But he needs to get angry at his teammates. This is not right. Like, he should be getting the ball here because he's got his arm across Gvardiol there. But instead, he plays it here. But look, maybe it's forgivable. The ball makes its way over to Dorgu. Cross comes in. There it is. You can see the ball right there. Forgive the arrow. Forgive the arrow. Where's that ball going to go? Where should it go? Has Hojlund made a good run? Has he done what he can do? Get in between your 2 centre-backs. Be there. Yep. Where's the ball go? Back post. What do you want him to do? And by the time it makes his way back over this way, I think he's offside. But so that's part of the problem is his movements initially. But it's also, there's something's not connecting here. Another example of, him not getting the opportunity, but also him maybe forcing it a little bit as well. We've got the ball here with Delo. Maybe the synergy's not right again. Is it a first-time ball and he should get to him? Maybe. But he's working so hard to get here. And I'm going to show you an example of Zirkzee when he comes on in the 76th minute. of the difference between the two, and what that can do to your teammates, right? Because he drives so much that he gets there way too early. But that said, he keeps moving, and actually he's in a good area. Bruno Fernandes got the ball here. He puts the cross in. No, he doesn't put it there. He goes to the back post again. Now, again, it's not an awful cross, but the point is he is not being seen. Rightly or wrongly. A lot of you will probably say rightly. But he is finding space. He is not being found. He's in a great area there. He's onside. And it's hurting them a lot. And this is the difference, right? So Zirkzee comes on. And I've got a question for you at the end of this because, yeah, it's intriguing to me. And it shows how profiles maybe don't mean everything. And I kind of felt like they did. And I really thought Rasmus Hojlund was going to fly here. 76th minute. Delos, he's thrown the ball. He's not even thought about it. He's going, yep, all right, posh. Thrown it. Not even thought about it. Who's he thrown it to? Zirkzee. In quite an awkward position here, if you think of the throw. He's got to get over two people and get it there. Instead, he could, normally be safe, go back. But no, he tries it and he gets it to him. And I think it's down to the body language of Zirkzee. He's there, he stands there, he's strong, he stands still. He's not in a rush. He gets it, he pops it off. And it's nice. Gets it, pops it off because that throw came to him. And, is it just levels when it comes to the sort of holding up the ball, which Zirkzee is miles better than Rasmus Hojlund. He plays it to Casemiro, and Casemiro is able to switch the ball over to this right-hand side. It's a really nice 3 seconds of play, really easy. There you go, pops it off, moves it out to this side, and Dorgu's got all this space to run into. But have a look at Zirkzee here. We've just shown you that example of Hojlund busting a gut. Zirkzee trots. He trots and he trots and he trots and he takes his time. There's no rush. It's fine. Also, a nice thing about Zirkzee dropping deep is you've got Garnacho can just really kind of cheat a little bit and stay high on that side. And as it plays on, again, he's just look, you can see the body language is, he's not leaning forward really at all. He's just taking his time. Great interplay between these two, which I like more and more. But as I say, I don't see it working when it comes to Garnacho and Hojlund. But Zirkzee and Garnacho, maybe in time. And I think Dorgu's really exciting with the energy he brings. Defensively really strong as well. Maybe can his finishing get that a little bit better. Garnacho's always naturally wanted to kind of tuck in. There's no way he would. And if this was Rasmus Hojlund, he'd be there making that run and he wouldn't be passed to. And then it'd be dead already. But Zirkzee takes his time. And what does he do? He picks him out. But Zirkzee actually points and says, I want the ball there. But he takes his time, and that's how he creates his separation. And he gets a really good shot off, actually, at the end. And I just thought that was really, really interesting. So, obviously, the game was horrific. It was so boring. But there were some interesting nuances to it. And can we get to a point where Rasmus Hojlund will be given the opportunity? Because I think he's being given the game time. But is he actually given the opportunity? Because the ball is not finding its way to him. And either that's a lack of commitment to him, a lack of trust in him, maybe some dodgy movement here and there, or just like he needs to get angry with that dressing room. Because otherwise, between now and the end of the season, with the players that you have right now, and we've spoken so many times on the channel about, you've got so many players who don't have the profiles that Amorim wants. Zirkzee being one of those, nearly one that left. But in terms of what this team is evolving and finding itself, where it's getting itself to, Zirkzee has to play if you want to play Garnacho. You just can't play those two together. And so regardless of the profile, in terms of this iteration between now and the end of the season, as good as a profile as Rasmus Hojlund is, he's both not being seen, certainly not being heard, and I will come back to this one. What do you want him to do? So let me know. That's my question for you guys. What do you want him to do? I think there's a player in there. I don't think they're finding him. I'm not saying he's great, but I think his stats are better than people giving him credit for. Well, they are from this, but the opportunity is clearly not there.